It was Knight Rider with Kit's voice. And
people I had the Yoda one. I had the Yoda Garmin thing where it would like tell me what to do when I was turning left and right. So this was
way too confusing.
Yeah.
Left turn you should make, yes? You're like, oh, for fuck's sakes, I just passed it.
100%. I miss it so much. And I got the little icon that made my car a rocket ship. So definitely I felt in the zone when I was driving around in my... And
Woz had Batman for a second, and he'd be like, "Turn left," and then it'd be pretty funny. And they're like, "We're going to get the Riddler" and stuff like that. It's fun for like the first like 5 minutes of your trip, and then you're like, "Oh my god, okay, that's enough."
This is when IP was just freely given away, and be like, "Yeah, we'll just have fun with it." And now you can never get anything. So
I think the only voice commands I would be willing to hear all day long would be Samuel L. Jackson. Like if he's telling me to turn left.
Turn left, MFer.
Yeah,
I think there was a thing. I think Samuel Jackson probably did. I'm sure there was a Samuel Jackson situation, but nonetheless. Anyways, we're old men. Welcome to the Heroes World Quarantine podcast. We're talking about old Garmins that all the kids are like, "Isn't it on your phone?" It's like, what are you guys doing? And then
they still make watches. They make watches.
Yeah, back in the day when you used to print out on a piece of paper on MapQuest directions, and you'd use that, or
MapQuest. Pearlie's Guide.
Or to find people at CAA to make you a triptychs when you're driving to Florida, and they would tell you things you could stop off on the way. So we are old men. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Dupe. With me, as always, are the owners and proprietors, both of them today, John and Andre. Say hello.
Howdy, folks.
What's up?
And the resident prince of mischief, Mr. Rob Godet.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Welcome again to the podcast where we talk about all the things geek, science fiction, movies, reviews, all that jazz. Typically, these are the things we talk about in the store. We're recording them, of course, to share them with the world. So it gives you kind of the feeling of being in a comic book store. So if you want to listen along, hold up a comic book in your house alone and just pace back and forth, and you'll feel like you're there with us. So that's how things will work. So today we're going to do our review of episode 5 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and
episode 4.
Episode 4.
I was like, "Yo, I did all the wrong work." If we're on episode 5, I'm.
Oh man,
like, so you went to the future again and saw the next episode.
Yeah,
Come on,
he just said he put a rocket on his car when that baby hit my 88 miles per hour.
I thought for a second I missed one. I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm behind."
There's been so much news about the fifth episode cameo that I had to go forward to find out.
I want to listen about that.
Yeah, it's a thing. Anyways. So, and then we'll have some questions at the end to connect with the panel. But first and foremost, our favorite game as always, as we start, because everyone hates it and yet everyone loves it at the same time. John, can you tell us what happened, non-spoiler, in this episode without any negative or positive descriptors? Go.
Yeah, it's always hard because the show is it's firing on all cylinders is the expression.
You could that's why the gimmick could be 10 seconds because you don't want to spoil anything, but
yeah, it's like stuff happens.
Fighty, boom boom.
Watch it. So this episode is called The World is Watching. So straight off our boys field trip from Madripoor, they're back on their trail to find the Flag Smashers, but someone from Bucky's past is here for Zemo.
Well, we know because it was already revealed in the episode before, so you can say it, John.
Yeah. So the Wakandans are here. They want Zemo back. So now our boys have an 8-hour clock to get what they need rolling before they come and collect what they feel is rightfully theirs to take care of justice wise. So our boys got this 8-hour timer. They got to find what's going on. Zemo proves that he is resourceful as ever. And in the meantime, Walker and his sidekick Battlestar or Hoskins have finally caught up to the party. So now they're in effect just in time for the rendezvous with Karli, the leader of the Flag Smashers, and then just some insane shit ensues after that. And I feel like that's all I want to give away.
100%. That you've even given away more than I would have. So yes, there we go. So as we move forward, the next gimmick that John needs to move forward with is John's questions. These are questions that we ponder and think of as we really wonder if John really put any time to these questions or if they're really deep questions. Who knows? These are things that we'll think about. John, what kind of questions do you have for us today?
Question wise, I didn't. I was actually gonna try and like, since we're being so overly positive of the show, I was gonna try and come up with like my criticisms, but it's hard. I couldn't think of
Good
anything.
luck.
I was like, yeah, you know what? What about when Sam Wilson's sister showed up first episode? We haven't seen anything with it, and they throw it back this episode, so it comes into play. And then I was gonna be like, oh, the Wakandans are just gonna show up for this beginning episode cameo, and then take off, and they come back and deliver like one of the probably best scenes in all these Marvel TV shows. I feel like it's one of the best fight choreographed scenes that we've seen so far. So I couldn't come up with anything. So that's it for that. So I was just gonna focus on two things that I really liked about the episode. So one is Sam Wilson trying to take a different path than fighting his way out of the situation. So they bring up his past, the fact that he's this
Counselor,
the army vet, almost like an alcohols and like the group thing that they established back in Winter Soldier. So I'm like, oh, this is cool. That he's gonna try and talk his way in it, and I felt like, as much as I love to see action, I was like, this is the best plan that he's had. So I think some people say he's not really exemplifying like what he could do as Cap, but I think this is one of the things. Like, this is the decision that he made, is like, you know what, she's vulnerable. This is the best time for me to kind of reach her. You got to give me the shot. And then that leads into my second favorite thing, is John Walker's descent into what he's gonna become. So I always like a juicy kind of villain or a rival to the heroes and stuff like that. So I thought it was really cool. Like, if you remember the early episodes, he's like this all-American, clean-shaven dude. This episode, he's coming in, he's got like this crazy beard going on, so it looks like he's like him and Hoskins have been like just through the grinder trying to like, I guess, butt their heads and figure out what the hell to do. And I would have liked a little bit more exploration into like how he just starts losing it. Like, when they're like, oh, let's go in, he's like, no, I'm going in now. Like, I feel like they could probably show the pressure a little more.
I think with the couple seconds here and there that when you hear his comments, he's like, they weren't even super soldiers, and like Dora Milaje and like,
that's later. I think that's later. But before that, when he's really anxious to go into the meet, I feel like they could have put a little bit more, or that seemed to happen a little too suddenly. But everything else after, when he's like, yeah, I got beat, they're not even super soldiers. And then he sits down with Lamar and he's like, what would you do if you had the serum? Would you take it? And his buddies, you think he's going to deliver the moral thing, but he's like, you know what? If you get more power, you just become more of whatever you were before, which is, I don't know if it kind of mirrors the speech from First Avenger.
It is 100%.
It's like, yeah, Steve, you're a good guy. You get the serum, you become more of a good guy, right? So I felt like it was really cool. And he's like, and Lamar was just like, yeah, I would take it. Imagine how many people we could save. So it's kind of neat that his whole motivation is just like,
however,
he wants to get this mission done. But yeah,
however, didn't you see John when John was like, yeah, we're good, but look at the bad things we did to get those medals of honor, like the things we had to do that no question.
Yeah. So he was like, yeah, I got these.
No,
like, he's not proud of those medals that he got. He's like, I got these medals. Yeah,
I think what they were saying is, he's like, he didn't say they did bad things. He said, I got 3 medals of honor for something that happened on the worst day of my life. So obviously he couldn't save his squad or whatever. We don't know exactly. So I don't think he went around like murking people. But
no. But I think it's things he's not proud of. Yeah.
But it's also, he wasn't proud. Like, Medal of Honor is one of the highest distinctions that you can achieve in the military.
But I got the impression that he got it kind of like as not a sympathy, but it's like, it didn't go. It didn't go like he wanted to, like,
but they established the Black Ops stuff, right? They're like, look at what we did in Black Ops, and a lot of it was
no, for sure.
So it's different than the steps of Captain America in terms of like what he was doing with the fighting against Hydra and the Nazis. But John, continue on with your thoughts.
No, and I'll let the other guys do the heavy lifting on all that, the kind of craziness that goes into this debate on all these different kind of things that Captain America could have been and ways of handling things. But I can't. I'm really sad that Battlestar is in theory gone. Maybe
we have no idea.
You never know. You never know. So
Casey's in the body bag. It don't mean nothing.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be Cyborg Battlestar or something like that. But that makes me sad. But I really like kind of like that people are liking to hate that. Like, I think this guy is doing a good job. Wyatt Russell or whatever. He's doing a good job of selling this kind of this version of Captain America. So I'm pretty happy with it.
So goes without saying, spoilers all. John didn't really in that little soliloquy ruin anything, but we're going deep into this. So if by any point in time you haven't seen this episode, stop. Don't go any further.
Everyone's
But
seen it. Don't worry.
we're gonna go.
I don't
Yeah,
think
everyone's seen it. But I did, to your point, John, wanted to, before jumping to Rob, there was that point where Zemo, yes, is awesome in every way, but when Bucky and Sam were talking to him, juxtaposition about, hey, everyone who takes a super soldier serum becomes corrupted. And he's like, well,
yeah, there's no other Steve Rogers.
Yeah. And then Zemo goes, you're right. He's the exception to the rule. So even Zemo accepts that Steve Rogers is the only example of someone with a super soldier serum that is pure of heart, because even he can't say anything about that, because everyone else, he's like, yeah, no, but Steve, yes. And then he caveats by saying there's never been another Steve Rogers. So it was really interesting because he has a code, but even then he was like, yeah, everyone but Steve Rogers, because you can see Zemo respects him to what he's done. So Rob, and one more thing before I jump to Rob, I know John has been very critical of the show in terms of fighting. The first trailer came out, it's like, oh, this doesn't look very good. This episode, as I teased Rob back and forth about asking him to go, there's been a lot of hand-to-hand combat, John. Is this up to your level when it comes to fighting and action? Because you, as always, been like, oh, they're not really fighting that much. Isn't really that interesting. Oh, look at these guys.
No, they're clearly using stunt performers, which is perfectly fine. The way they're shooting it, they're definitely covering it very well. So it's that's not an issue. I was just pouring water on the hype fire. But yeah, this one you could almost call this episode like 3 fights in a funeral or something like that. Like we got like 2 confrontations with flag smashers, and pretty well choreographed. And when the Wakandans come in and pretty much take everyone apart, and then they're like, hey, you know what? It was kind of like they were watching Cap and Battlestar are getting the mix, and then Sam's like, hey Bucky, maybe you should get in there and kind of break this up. Like that was just so cool. And I feel like they were drinking jasmine tea or something like that, and just watching it all go down. And then he's like, all right, and then he just puts his robotic arm in, and I'm sure one of you guys is going to mention.
I think Zemo offered them orchid tea, right? Isn't that what it was? Zemo
some type of special tea, and it was pretty funny. And then he even like I think I don't remember if John Walker or someone like smashes it against the wall or something.
Cherry Block.
Bucky.
Cherry Block. Yeah. I think it was against the wall. Yeah.
There was they did mention that the writers really made sure that this episode had lacking of guns because they want to ensure.
Yeah. Walker makes a comment. What's with all the knives? Which was hilarious.
Because
like, what is with all these knives?
So they made a conscious effort to do to remove guns from the equation to really emphasize the hand-to-hand fighting and to put close quarters. Because if there was guns, it would be, unless it was in that scene in Germany where they're all the soldiers with guns and you have to run through tight quarters and you can't really shoot guns. This is kind of, you need this in order to have proper fighting, because again, it wouldn't be as interesting if everyone just had guns shooting at each other behind walls. So all right, Rob, I've lined it up and taken it away and lined it up and taken it away. What are your thoughts on this episode?
For me, this is the best episode of the 4 that we've seen. I really, really enjoyed this episode. I've watched it twice. I watched it again this morning.
And for those who are wondering, we film at like 9:00 on Sunday morning. So Rob's already watching again. What time were you up this morning if you watched it again?
7:30.
Ooh, on a Sunday. Ooh, carry on.
Thank you. It was one of those episodes where for me it was part and parcel of 2 things. One is the action scenes. I'm a sucker for a good action scene, good fight scene that doesn't look cheesy and stupid. So I was all down for, as John said, those 3 action scenes. But the dramatic, like the prose, the way that Falcon had that conversation with Karli, like that just, I was like, fished in. I was so hooked on that scene and him, saying like, I agree with like his ability to essentially, when she's like, you tricked me into saying this, when she's like, I would kill them all again if I had to, and he goes, well, there you go. She goes, no, you tricked me. No, he did the job of a counselor, whether you're a psychiatrist, psychologist, or whatever. I mean, he deals, as John had alluded to earlier, with people who have PTSD and people of war and this and that, and he had her almost see that the ideological values that she holds up are one thing, but how she enforces that is completely different.
He's like, are you going to make more super soldiers? And she basically
right, to
like, oh,
grow your army.
Yeah,
like you can stand for something, but why do you need to have an army of individuals? So for me, over like this episode really got me. I really enjoyed it. I love good dramatic scenes, and seeing that, I wrote some notes down, and then I actually kind of realized it's almost about John Walker. So the framing of Walker versus all the framing that you saw in the previous Captain America movies or Avengers movies, they are the mirror opposites. When he busts through the door, when he smashes out the window towards the end, when he's got the gun over the shield, like even the shots when they're kind of panning up, it's a mirror image of how they had Steve Rogers busting through doors and everything else like that. I thought that was really interesting.
And Rob, the music cues, if you listen to this every time, they just slowly kind of add it in the background, very slightly sprinkling it in. So you have not only visually, to your point, is that you hear it and it gets you to really see that perspective. But yes, continue.
The next thing I wanted to say was about Wyatt Russell in his portrayal of John Walker. He has, this is listen, the internet has always been could be a force for good, but man, the nerd hive can just be a force of bad. They have been railing on him in his portrayal of John Walker. I don't know what they expected him to be. He is, as a character, in the shadow of Steve Rogers of Captain America. He's an individual who expects respect, demands respect, much like we've all had bosses or employers who demand respect because they're your boss. And you're like, I don't give a shit if I'm not going to give you respect, you earn it. And yet in sort of a Walker, in that role, he's demanding and expects respect because he's calling himself Captain America. And as we've seen in previous episodes, they're like, yeah, I know who you are. Like, you're not Captain America, because he hasn't earned it. And so I bring it up because I feel that I don't know what people online are expecting. I think, when we've all grown up watching a myriad of television shows, and there's always been, or movies, and there's always been a villain who you just hate. Like Sharon Stone in Casino. I hate Sharon Stone in Casino, but I love it so much because I hate it. Because she did her job. She portrayed a character that you were meant to just want to like rip your hair out because you just detest her so much.
Paul Reiser and Aliens for me.
Oh yeah,
right. And so in this show, exactly right. And so in this show, Wyatt Russell is doing exactly what he is supposed to do, and you are meant to be like, what is wrong with this guy, and detest him and see the dichotomy between him and Steve Rogers. And yet for some reason, our online brothers and sisters are just ripping on him. And I think it's completely uncalled for, because I think you're actually missing the point.
May I add a quick pointer to that, Rob? Could it be that now that we have been given this slice of power, which is the Snyder Cut, that's emboldened the people to say, if we say what we want and put out the secret into the universe, we'll get what we want? So is that part of the thing now with this culture, where now we've said it out now loud and we got what we wanted? Is that going to embolden people to say going forward, we want this, give it to us. It worked once, it'll happen again.
No, I
Was
don't think
that-
so. I'll tell you why. Because there's a little movie called Snakes on a Plane where somebody had put a meme out saying, "Man, I want Samuel L. Jackson to say, what's with all these M motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane?" And they had never recorded that line. They actually recorded it specifically because everybody was waiting to hear it, and the movie still tanked. So it doesn't make a difference. People were like, nobody went to see the movie because they were like, I just want to see him say that. He actually recorded it.
No, but they still got it made. Like,
Yeah, no,
regardless
but
of whether
yeah,
it's
but
profitable
they
or
never
not.
supported it. So I just don't. I don't.
Well, the Justice
necessarily-
League Snyder cut is out, but how many people watched it? How many people finished it? It's like it's available on demand, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's successful. So
I think you're shoehorning. I think you're shoehorning something. I just think that if you can, listen, we can have that conversation all day long. If you go to previous iterations or arguments online, people don't like certain things and they voice their expression and their distaste and hatred, and have forced. Was it Kelly Marie Tran off of? They didn't like her portrayal in Star Wars, and they forced her offline. I mean, so all I'm saying is that it's too bad. I don't think in this regard to Wyatt Russell's interpretation and portrayal of John Walker, which is he's nailing the part. Like, let's not mince words here. He is still killing me with the fact that he sounds so much like his dad, but he is nailing this part of John Walker. John mentioned about the scene, before he interrupts Falcon and Karli, him pacing back and forth, looking at the clock. Time is going slow for him. He has no patience. He's jittery. He is failing at being this archetype, this character of Captain America, and he feels that he needs to be able to be the one to deliver the goods, right? Because that's what Captain America did.
But to your point, Rob, for him is that even in this episode, when you're trying to hate him a lot, he does say a couple redeeming things here and there. It's like, this is the best things ever happened to me being Captain America. I just want to succeed so badly. So that's there is that moment of like, any one of us who was put in that position wants to succeed. We don't want to fail, regardless of what position or job or opportunity we've been given. And you can see that it's slowly pushing him to do questionable things because he wants to do the right thing. It just doesn't have the guidance, the Dr. Erskines to help him with kind of like what it means, and he doesn't have the support system of Zemo talks about the Avengers being bad and stuff. He doesn't have the support structure of an Avengers team to say, hey man, we like you for you. You're good at what you do. Don't worry about it. We got you. So you can see what happens when you're a lone wolf, when you don't have that support system in place, and when you get bad advice, or if you just get in your head and you have no one to talk to, this is what happens.
Yeah, no, for sure. I wanted to move on to the serum. And maybe I missed it in the last episode with the doctor. I think he said he perfected. Is the serum drinkable now? Is there no more need for some type of a catalyst?
No Vita Ray, no nothing. It just said it's an ultimate serum that can be injected that does not change your form or it doesn't jack you up. It is the perfect super soldier serum.
Right.
And it didn't really say if you inject it or drink it, so it's questionable what that is. It looked like there was a tip at the end.
I think it's good that they didn't show it. Yeah. I like how they didn't show it. He just took it somehow instead of.
Yeah.
Well, and why didn't he drink it right away? I'm like, how does it work?
Well, you don't know, right? Was when he smashes through that door at the beginning. You're, that last scene, that last battle scene.
Yeah.
He smashes the door. You're like, okay, is that the shield doing the work or not? And then when he throws the shield and it breaks into the concrete, you're like, oh, I think he's done something, right? Yep. So, the Battlestar death, man. Okay, first of all, it's too bad because I was loving that scene when they're standing at the table.
We don't know.
Dead, bro.
I don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
Okay.
He hit his head and his back on that concrete thing.
Well, everybody heard the crack.
Yeah, like that's like you always say when in Winter Soldier when Cap's fighting those guys and kicking those guys, they're all dead. Like we didn't show them die, but they're dead because your sternum, your spleen would explode.
Yeah,
and he concrete, and then his head whipped back, and then he lulled. So if they bring him back, it's like you said, cyborg Battlestar.
It could be Power Broker and the traditional comic book line takes him away, fixes him up. It could
for sure.
It could be his.
It
could be his Winter Soldier Bucky, where it's like, do you know who you are? Do you know what's going on? And he's been taken away because they just left him there. So if the Power Broker,
maybe they'll turn him into Deathlock.
We already have a Deathlock.
We don't acknowledge the Shield series anymore.
They do. But nonetheless, like
he's Ghost Rider.
you know, they could theoretically take his body away and fix him up and do things because it is the Marvel universe. You don't know what's going on. The Tahiti program, these are things that could happen. But yes, he looks to be dead. But as far as I know, unless he's in a body bag, anything can happen. But yes, Rob, sorry.
Well, I'm just going to refer to it as his death because I think that that's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's too bad as a character because that scene when he and John are sitting in the cafe, well, I guess at the table in the food court, whatever it was.
Yep, pavilion, yeah.
Yeah, and again, which is another scene that you saw Captain America do, Steve Rogers in previous movies, right? So, and he's talking, and it's just like he was delivering lines that he hasn't had the opportunity to in previous episodes. Obviously, his death is the catalyst that makes John Walker completely snap. I got to tell you though, there was this part of me that just wanted to see him pop on that domino mask, like from the comics. Like I really wanted it, and it's just too bad that for all intents and purposes, as far as I'm concerned, he's probably gone from the show. So. Despite Stu's, asterisks.
Optimism, yes.
Yes, yeah, the Mark McGuire asterisks for home runs. So we'll see. Overall, I really loved this episode. It made me really jazzed for next week's that final scene of the blood splattering up on the shield and the panning up of Walker. And you can just, it's so funny when you pan up, in shots and you're going upwards like that, it actually highlights an individual, how crazy they look. Right. So I'm all down for this. It was,
well Bucky did mention that Walker's crazy because
he's
know crazy because I'm crazy. Yeah. So,
yeah,
it's the thing.
The only thing I wanted to say, boys, is I just actually kind of have a confession to make. And this is, I'm going to, Mike Myers here, put some water on my face. Look, I'm crying here. I failed as a father because my son tapped out of this show.
What? What? What do you mean?
Yeah, he fell asleep last week watching it, and he has zero interest in going back in. It doesn't make sense to me. He watched every episode of WandaVision, and on this one he fell asleep, and he's like, he's not enjoying it. And I don't know if he's right now in a Riverdale binge. I don't know if this is now consuming all of his brain trust. I have no idea.
So let me get this straight.
I'm currently in the
he needs some more female characters introduced into Captain
He was engaged
America.
in WandaVision, but yet he does not want to watch Falcon Winter Soldier.
He's fallen asleep the last two episodes. He didn't watch this week's, and he came down this morning and he saw the last half hour of this week's episode, and I was like, so hey, that's good, right? You gonna watch it? He's like, nah. So I think
to John's point, Elizabeth Olsen really carries WandaVision. So if you just want to watch her for a while, it's a great ride. So I could see why he's maybe not as interested in a bunch of bros hanging out. And although maybe you could just show him the 1 hour Zemo dance cut, and maybe that'll get him back involved. Thank you, Marvel, for that one. Thank you for an hour kid who's gone dancing.
He's watched every Marvel movie. He's watched more Marvel movies than Andre. He's watched it all.
That's not hard. That's not hard.
But he's just not. He's not it. So I apologize. I have failed as a father.
There's still more time. There's a couple more episodes left. You can get him back.
Start working on the daughter. There is another.
There is another.
Maybe when they integrate some skins onto Fortnite, we'll be able to get them back. But look, there's a Winter Soldier skin. Come back in, a Zemo skin. That will get me
the show is much more serious than WandaVision. So like the WandaVision is for a certain audience. Maybe as much as we love it, Falcon Winter Soldier is kind of going to a different audience. Us older guys, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm ready to jump into the Fortnite game as soon as the Zemo skin is released. So let me know what happens. I'm going to join Fortnite. I just want that purple mask parading through and then dancing in the background as I'm shooting guns. This is all that matters to me.
That doesn't look like you were dancing. It looks like you were just coming out of the sundowner doing that. So you should maybe readjust your arm position.
Okay. Andre.
Yeah, I think everybody has nailed it. I'll just add a couple of points. Yes, definitely every episode of this show has gotten better. But we've all talked about, or everybody's talked about, the Sam Wilson speech, but every character in this show got dialogue that created depth for them. You know, Karli got the dialogue, Sam got the dialogue, Battlestar got the dialogue to John Walker, John Walker got the dialogue. Every one of these characters, we now see their motivations a little bit more. It's like we've peeled it back and they are real people. We might not agree with what the actions they're taking, but we can see why they're doing it. Like that funeral scene was just brilliant. You know, the super scary phone call, you know, like could you imagine, like if she calls, like Sam held it together there really well. But that's what I'm talking about. This show is the writing is on point, and we get all of that dialogue and character building moments in the highest packed action episode so far. Like, so this is, like I said, I'm sorry to hear, Rob, that your son didn't dig it. And I know there's a lot of people who are saying it's boring online. Listen, I have no idea how they can say that, but hey, John just said it, you know, different strokes for different folks. Some people like, you know, more comedic thing. This is my wheelhouse. This is my jam. For me, comic books were never just funny books, you know, and aside from characters, like when you're reading a Spider-Man comic and stuff, I'm not reading an action comic to laugh all the time and for it to be slapstick. It has to have these serious moments. It has to reflect what's going on in society and have kind of a point. And this show has all of that. You know, like I railed on WandaVision for not addressing the blip. And again, I'm going to say it right now. Okay, Marvel, you did it. You talked about in this episode how people were relocated to take this homes and livelihoods of populations that disappeared, but then when everybody came back, they pushed you out. Kudos, thank you. Like this show again, it should have been first, but I guess because of the COVID and all that, if they had put this first, then I could be like, oh yes, I get it. But again, WandaVision happened and they didn't address anything. But this is all the stuff that I have wanted from the MCU. And oh man, the Wakandans, the bodyguards just whooped ass, took names, and then gave him back his shield. So what an awesome
when she kicks it up and it lands on her shoulder, and then she's like, put it back or whatever, and then she just hands it to Walker.
It just shows like you see this guy, like you're meant not to like this guy, but you can now see and fully understand why he took that serum. You know, he's got his ass kicked at every moment. He's not as good as Sam. He's not as strong as the Winter Soldier. He's not respected. And then his friend dies. Of course you're going to do what he did. You know what I mean? Like it's that snapping point, and they did a brilliant job doing it. I can't wait for the next episode. Just this,
even the opener where they show Bucky with I think AO or whatever, and she's testing the code words on him, and he's like, it's not gonna work, and then he's like so happy that he doesn't get
again activated. You know, wicked foreshadowing in that scene. He's like, she says, I won't let you hurt anybody. Right. And then you're like, oh, how's she supposed to stop him? And then she does the tit, and his arm falls off. Oh my God.
Falls off. I thought his arm was done. I thought
amazing.
It was
you know, anyways, this show is perfect. I've had some conversations on my Facebook feed and stuff. People like, you know, like I'm gushing over this. And I think like this is to me the pinnacle of what the MCU could and should be. And you know, in responding to people, it makes me think about stuff. And I'm going to say it here. It's just like the reason I have such, I want to say, low esteem of the MCU movies is, yes, they are all entertaining and they all look good. 100%, I'm giving them that. Okay. But to me, most of the movies fail to be as good as the comic books that they are based on. Very few of them, in my opinion, come are as good, and if not better. This particular show happens to be following the few movies that I thought were better than the comic book. So Winter Soldier is so damn close and as good, if not better, than the Winter Soldier book. it is different, but again, they did a really good job adapting it, respecting the material, and then how they changed and continued that storyline through Civil War. Definitely a strong movie. And Black Panther. So those movies to me were, holy crap, they are better. They are elevating the comic book, right? So that's why when I look at this show and I see all the stuff they're doing, how they're bringing stuff back, they're interweaving moments, the flashbacks, they're really building that particular universe, and it's fantastic to see. For me, like I said, I don't
So,
listen.
quick
I don't
point,
want to argue
Andre,
with
but
anybody
I
that
want to get your
a
thoughts
lot of people
quickly.
love all the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
stuff.
But
And
let me
and
just
they
jump
can do
in
that.
for a second, Andre, to get your thought, because we talked about this numerous times where the Marvel movies are like a 5 tent pole thing where you have to, get as many different groups of diversity and the global market to watch. They have a formula to get $1 billion per movie, and it works. And I agree with you. It's never as good as comic, because if they were to put as much detail and nuance, there's a bunch of markets out there of like, maybe not English is not their first language, just falls off the grid. So they have to kind of do it. But if they continue to make the shows to match what you're saying about it's kind of match comic books, you get the best of both worlds. You could say, I'll watch a movie, but if I get this type of content in a TV show, then I don't care that the movies are
Yeah.
kind of fluff, because
Well,
you
see,
can't do both. Because we've seen the example, and I want your thoughts, that the ultimate example of this is the Zack Snyder cut. 4 hours, and when you watch together, it's actually a decent movie when it's all together. But you need 4 hours, and it just doesn't work that way. A 2 hour movie, 2.5 hours is kind of the limitation of what you can do in a movie theater. But 4 hours is a lot to ask a person to give up in their lives. It's like watching a full baseball game at standpoint. You're like, yeah.
Well, it's almost like comparing, when books get made into movies and you're like, oh, the book was way better because the book has, X amount of hundreds of pages to tell the story. So is this only achievable in a TV show? I guess is what you're
well,
trying to ask Andre.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely part of the equation. But again, there are versions, like I said, the movies, my top Marvel movies, um, Winter Soldier, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Civil War, like those movies all did it within 2.5 hours. It can be done. So I'm not saying that like the answer isn't always a 4.5 hour movie. The answer is writing something that stays consistent and I guess gives the content and gives the source material its due, because we've
but two
talked
of
about
those
some of the
movies,
Netflix series. They were too long and they didn't capture it either. But this particular show, like I said, you're absolutely right. Maybe this show is going to end up being what, 6 40-minute episodes, so almost 3 hours, right? So it's going to be up there. It's going to be like, I'm just going to call it like it's the movie, it's the sequel to Civil War or whatever. And that's why I like it, because they're really following that. I don't think that you need that longevity for every superhero movie to be good. But again, this goes back down to the thing. There are different people want different things from it. I unfortunately have got so many years of reading comics, and I particularly choose comics and characters that I gravitate towards and I enjoy. So with all of that, when I see something, a representation on screen, sometimes it isn't even as good as when different creative teams take over characters, because people forget that comic books aren't always the same creator. Like if you look at how Superman's evolved and changed since the beginning, new writers and artists add to that and change that, and sometimes I'm on board, sometimes I'm not, but for most of the time they are honoring and continuing along that path. Same thing for a character like Batman. So many changes. Every comic book character's had these type of changes, but then
But Andre,
sometimes
but for your 4 movies, out of the 4 movies, only one is an origin one. The rest of the 3, you have to watch the other movies to understand what's going on. Because Doctor Strange is the only one that is a pure introduction to the world of magic. There's no other, like, you don't have to watch any of the movies to know who Doctor Strange is. But Winter Soldier, you know, you have to watch Captain America movie, Civil War. You should watch the nuance of it is building upon Black Panther. So like out of the four movies
I think Black Panther is Marvel's best standalone movie because you don't necessarily need to have seen Civil War because they tell you what happened. They're like, oh, you're coming back. You are becoming the king because you're. Anyways, listen, I just like this show. I don't want to go too much into all the other stuff. But I do believe that back to what your original question was, Stu, is, you know, if the movies are going to be one way to hit that global market, can we then get a TV show that's a little bit more richer? I think that might be possible, but I think if your starting base is kind of nebulous so that it appeals to everybody, I don't know if you'll be able to pinpoint and get down to this level of goodness. Like if they decide to make their future Disney shows like this caliber and this tight, and they aren't as concerned with an international audience for stuff like, look, Loki's going to be that. Like it might be, you know, all over the place, and maybe it won't do super well internationally. I'm not saying it is. I'm not predicting it is. None of that. But I just feel that there's different, like they can be really, you know, they can do so much better than they have done. And that's my opinion. Most people already say the MCU's up here, super high. So continue to enjoy it, everybody. You know, I'm just going to hold them to a little bit of a higher standard, but this time holding them to a standard, every episode's better than the last. And I don't know. I can't believe they've been doing it. And even if they somehow shit the bed for the last two, these four are going to make up for it. And I don't know, like, I don't know how they do that.
So to nitpick, John, as you talked before, finding things about nitpicking, there are many things about the Flag Smashers in this show that you can nitpick and go, how did they do this? How did they do that? How did they know when the episode, when the power broker's like, oh, they destroyed the facility? How would you know that the facility was destroyed and you're the only one that has the super soldier formula? How did you get Sam Wilson's sister's number? Like, how do you do these things? You guys, aren't you guys
just know how to fight?
Yeah. but to the thing, it's like they never explain any of it. But to the point again, they're kind of like, this is where I question. It's like, I don't mind them being like brawlers where they're kind of swinging, like not really have good form and fighting, because why would they? Like, again, you have a super soldier formula. It's kind of Superman. You don't need good form. You just punch wildly, but you have super strength. So who cares? But I look back and I'm like, how are you guys all, to your point, Rob, like, seems like you're all fully trained in hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? How did this happen? You just say, well, good thing we're in the same corridor, the same district in Madripoor. It's like, if I just live in the district, I know Kung Fu. Like, how does this happen? Why does this happen? And I think we give it a pass because 95% of the show is so good. We'll kind of, you know, not worry about.
I thought they were soldiers of some kind. I thought that was what she was referring to.
No, she calls them soldiers to her cause, but they're not soldiers. Like, and this is where, you know, to draw a line to like how the Man of Steel movie, where, you know, Superman's like, I got powers, I'm gonna kick the crap out of you. He's throwing punches and Fiora's kicking the shit out of him because he doesn't know hand-to-hand combat. He's not a trained soldier.
Yep.
And so I often, when I'm watching this show, I'm thinking, how are these people able to like be up against and equal to, you know, Bucky in the Winter Soldier? Because just because you have super strength doesn't make you a super fighter, right? It just means you punchy, and that's about it. How are you knowing how to do spin kicks and everything else like that? Like, it doesn't. But whatever.
To be fair, Bucky is holding back.
It's all reactions. They're younger.
No. But Bucky. But we saw in Madripoor that Bucky is holding back. He is not unleashing full Winter Soldier assassin, because Sam constantly says we are not assassins. He's like, all right, because my go-to moves basically results in people's deaths. Like, I'm like a la Batman, touch of death. Like, he just goes for the jugular. Like, it's about like neck snapping. He's not a person who, like Captain America, as Andre mentioned eloquently before, is that he holds back his punches. He's delivering the right amount of strength in that punch, not to destroy a person's insides. And you watch today or episode 4 where these guys don't know. They just punch as hard as they can, and people die because of it. So they're not trained to understand their own strength and how much they're doing it. So,
but then this begs the question, though, where, and I was going to bring this up earlier and I said not to, but since you kind of segued into it, is the power balance in how the show is dealing with things. So yes, you know, you've got where Karli, you know, punches Battlestar really hard and, you know, for all intents and purposes, kills him. But then you have Walker, who bursts into the door and throws the shield at Zemo and wails off his head and knocks Zemo out. Like, in all fairness, that should have probably decapitated him or caved in his skull. So I just think, right? Sometimes
that's before he took the serum, though.
Yeah, no, I know that, but still, he's still like, dude, he's still throwing it pretty hard. Look how fast he's hitting and coming back, and it's
shield in the head.
Right. Like, I think it's like, you know, and again, I you know, you chalk it up to cinematic, you know, artistry, you know, like when you watch a movie and somebody's taking a lead pipe to the head and it just knocks him out. In real life, he took a lead pipe to the head. It's done. You see you later, right? Like, there's no more getting up from that, right?
He put ice on his head, Rob. He was putting ice on his head, so he's way. It's like the magic water in soccer. He just sprayed it on. He's like, I'll just walk it off. I'll walk it off. I'll walk it off. So there's a magic spray, but to the point too, where we have to give kudos to both of them, the actors, where Zemo is on it and asking Sam, it's like, given the opportunity, would you do it? And Sam's like, no. And you know, again, Zemo's the level of living by the code. He's like, good, no hesitation. I respect that. So it's like a lot. And he, as an intelligence officer, can tell, I guess, in terms of intention and lying. And when Sam is earnest like we talked about before, like, he is a genuine person. And that's what Steve gave him the shield, because he's a genuine person, and that's what Captain America should be.
Well, yes. And so we listen, not to get too spoilery, but if anybody is online and seen anything in the news, you know what the end result is going to be, because how the toys have leaked. Like the pictures, they're on the store shelves.
Well, the comic books, you've seen it too, so it's already happened.
Right. Okay. So we know, but it shows that you don't need a super soldier serum to be the symbol of Captain America. You just need to be somebody of pure heart, I guess, to paraphrase other properties, and that's it, right? And that's where, again, that's a dichotomy between Sam and John Walker. Walker believes he needs to be competitive and take the super soldier serum to gain that respect, and you don't need it. So I love the balances in this show and the dichotomies between the characters. It tickles me pink.
It also shows that clearly John Walker is not an educated man in terms to understanding the Dora Milaje. Like, they are the most badass soldiers on the planet. They are essentially, what you're going to do. You're going to the Amazonian women of this universe. Like, they are the most trained. They have the best tech. Like, it's never really talked about, but like the Dora Milaje, like, all those spears probably have more tech in there than Tony Stark has even thought about. So their armor looks like it's like ceremonial, but it's made of vibranium, so bullets don't penetrate it. So they are like as far as you can get in terms of training and to be soldiers than anyone else in the universe. So it just shows from the previous episode before, he's not educated in the world. It's like, oh, I don't speak multiple languages and I don't even know the Dora Milaje. So he's like, oh, they're not even super soldiers. They are as far as you can be without taking the serum. They are as awesome as anyone else in the universe, and you don't mess with them. They could stop a war by themselves, and they
can stop the war from even happening, like just behind the scenes. Like they said, their jurisdiction is where they are, so what a sick moment, man.
And again, and to Florence, to kudos to her, because the moment when she's talking to Sam, it's like, and before that episode, she's like, before they go to Wakanda, she's like, don't you know what we did for you, what I did for you? So it's like that level of like, why are you doing Zemo? Because again, this is the great shame of my life, that I was supposed to protect King T'Chaka, and he died on my watch. This is essentially that old movie with Clint Eastwood. Rob, help me out here, where he was supposed to protect the president and he died.
In the line of fire.
In the line of fire. This is the in the line of fire moment.
Right.
Thank you, Rob, for that. Where she was like, I'm supposed to be Secret Service. I'm supposed to protect the king, and I let that down. And now Zemo is there, and I must get vengeance upon Zemo. So there's this cool thing where we could just split off, because the rumors about this Wakanda show, we could have just done this whole thing with the Dora Milaje, just like go around the world, like trying to fix the rights and like catching Zemo again. And it just shows the richness that you were talking about, Andre, of the universe. And people have been wronged and they have their own agendas. And Dora Milaje is not any different. They're like, we have to get Zemo. And I'm interested to see, we know where Zemo's going next. It's in the trailers. and he's talked about it to Sam and Bucky before. So we haven't seen the last of him. He snuck away. I just wondering whether he'll be back truly or not. That might be it. Like he might be on his own, and then that's the way we finish off the series.
Well, listen, if they didn't know how good this guy is as Zemo before filming this or during filming this, they 100% now know because of the fans' reaction. They're definitely writing him into other MCU stuff if they didn't already have it planned, because he is definitely a nice, B-list villain. If Batroc the Leaper is a C-list and he's made a couple of appearantions now, we're definitely going to get more.
I would
Zemo
say now
for
he's
sure.
an A-list villain that is very charming.
Well, no, A is the villain of the the Ultrons and the Thanoses and the Loki. So he's not quite there yet, but
Well,
he's getting there. He's getting there. Yeah.
But you know what? Just as equally, though, I don't know what the plan is for John Walker by the end of the series. Nobody does. But I mean, it goes back to Wyatt Russell's portrayal. And, when you guys are mentioning that Dora Milaje, and he's like, he's putting on this fake, what sometimes we all kind of like this fake American accent. It's like, all right, everybody, put down the pokey sticks. Like, that's not how he really talks. I mean, this guy is, he was in Black Mirror. It was one of the best episodes, and I just had it up, and of course I've lost it. Playtest. Like, if you want to see an individual with a range of acting, like, check out what he's done in the past. So I really hope.
He's just like it's in the movie in Endgame when Chris Pratt was like, oh yes, I'm here, and doing the accent to like,
Right,
of course I talk like this, and it's lowered.
This is my voice.
Persona, right? To match the situation.
But honestly, the Wyatt Russell issue, it's a testament to how good his acting is that so many people hate him. Period. End stop. He is playing that role, and now everybody believes that that's him, and they're putting the hate to him. And that's not right. You know what I mean? He is playing the part. It's not like he's John Walker kicking puppies because he, in the street in real life. No, he is a good actor. He has read the role. He is definitely knows how to play it. And it is a slightly different John Walker than we got in the comics. But I like this version better because John Walker in the comics, I didn't care for at all. Like this, I could see because they've shown kind of how he feels ineffective and not up to the standard that he is. So he's almost like you see that. So there's that self-confidence that's not there, that doubt that he keeps failing, even though people have told him, you're Captain America, but he keeps failing at that. That's going to draw on you, and we see that in his actions. And again, the culmination of that, like him just losing it and not realizing that everybody's seeing. Like, I loved how he beat that guy down. Like he kicked him, and he was just like, it was just like, but then he went too far. But that's grief, that's anger, that's all of these things rolled up, bottled up, and it exploded. So a lot of foreshadowing in the show, so great.
So the moral of the story, based on what Andre and everybody have been saying, is if you're online and you're tweeting about Wyatt Russell being a shitty actor and you're stop it. Stop doing it because you're wrong. Leave him alone.
Well, no, let's come back to first Daniel Bruhl quickly. First, if you haven't watched The Alienist on Netflix, watch it. He is tremendous in that movie. If you haven't watched the movie
TV
Drive,
show.
He is incredible. Driven? Is it Driven? It's Driven, right? With Driven, him and
Sylvester Stallone.
Wait, is it? No, it's Drive. Drive is the one. Drive is the one. Yes, sorry. Drive is the one.
Yeah.
Also good. Sylvester Stallone. Driven.
No, it's not.
He is incredible.
It is. I love it.
Yeah, Driven is the other one. Stallone and someone else is in that movie. But that Drive is the movie. But if you look back on, and Andre mentioned before, it's like it's when you're given material to really stretch it out, that is what you get from a really great actor. And the same thing as I can say before watching Age of Ultron is like, I don't blame James Spader for Ultron. I thought he was amazing as Ultron. I wanted more. And if you gave me a show where he gets to stretch out as Ultron and do these weird things, and James Spader can be James Spader, then the character can be more
Ultron doing weird things. That should be the name of the show.
So it's just a matter of, it's a time constraint. And Zemo, even before, he gave a performance in Civil War that was unique to that movie, and we all thought one thing of him. And now, given this new perspective, you're like, oh wow, like here's something more, here's something more, here's something different. So again,
does he talk like that in Civil War? I don't remember if he talks like he does.
He does talk
with that accent.
a little less accenty.
with the kind of like growly, like he's really leaned way into it for this series.
I think for again,
he's gone Christian Bale. He's not nine. He's going. He's Batman Begins Christian Bale, not Dark Knight Rises Christian Bale.
for Captain America, like I think he has he does like a more, I guess, less accent, so for the markets overseas can understand him. And this one he just full out goes to the accent, and it's great. Like again, I hope
it's more the growly sound. Like
I hope he becomes the
like
new
whisper growling.
I know everyone keeps on saying that, oh, he's gonna be the Thunderbolts and all this stuff. I'm like, no, please give him diplomatic immunity. Please make him the prince. Like let's do this. Let's give him so he can be around a little bit longer to do more fun things in the Marvel universe, because he is, you know, given the opportunity to run a country, I think he would be really, like, that diverges from the character, but it's a good one. Let's hope for hope. Okay, so as we move a little bit away from the show, needless to say, every week we talk about, can the show get better? Are we concerned that the runway is going out because Fast and Furious runway is upon us? John, as we finish episode 4 and 2 remaining, do you think after this they can close this out and make it a satisfying ending for you?
I think so. For me, I think they got 2 more episodes left, so about 2 hours chunk. Yep. But they did throw, like, especially this episode, you see a lot of these different kind of like representations. Like, do you go to the John Walker side? Do you go with the Anthony Mackie side? Do you go with the Karli Flag Smasher side? So they presented a lot of different ideas, but I don't think those need to be resolved at the end of this. I think they just have to wrap up this Flag Smashers story, and probably if they can't leave the John Walker thing hanging in the air. I think they do have to wrap that up, and I think 2 more episodes they can definitely do that.
Rob?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago I said that the main baddie of this show is going to be John Walker, and this series will end with the crowning of Mackie as the new Captain America, that he will be fighting Walker. I think the Flag Smashers will be resolved, but I think that the ideological path that they are on will have reverberations. And I think, you know, Zemo, he may, like you said, he might make another appearance, but there's not going to be a resolution. They're not putting him back in jail. He is out in the world, and we'll see where it goes from there. The only unknown that we have is this power broker and how that individual fits into the overall MCU. Is it shoehorned into these final 2 episodes, or is it presented on a platter, and then that individual will then grow into something else? So we'll see.
Agatha.
Does Emily Van Camp become Viper, and does she run the power broker? Is this what's going to happen? Fingers crossed. We'll see. Andre.
Oh, for sure, it's going to stick the landing. Listen, they've already built.
Mark this down. Mark this down. What time is this at? Wait, John, mark this time down. We're gonna play this back to you, Andre. Yeah.
The
Channel 4 a.m.
foreshadowed everything. You know, they talked about, you know, that Sam should have kept the shield. Bucky says, "I'm going to fight this guy and take the shield if I have to." You know, if you know comics, you know that John Walker was gonna go, you know, be unstable
shit
and stuff. and again, like this, the whole premise of this show, we knew beforehand. It's to establish Sam as Captain America. I doubt that it being this good so far that they fumble at the end, you know. So again, what Rob just predicted, we're going to see that fight. I think we're going to see the Flag Smashers kind of resolved, but in a way that what they were fighting for is going to get addressed. They're going to get talks. They have drawn the spotlight to the issue, and it's going to get talked about. And I think Zemo is going to get away. We're not going to have, you know, they're not going to resolve the Zemo part. And I don't think they're going to reveal who the power broker is. We haven't seen them. We haven't heard their voice, anything. They've been in the background the whole time. They're not the focus of this show. So I don't think they're going to.
Sharon Carter's just going to pick up a separate phone and go, "Yes, this is the power broker."
No, maybe if they do an end credit scene or whatever, maybe.
Yes.
But
be fair,
2 more episodes. They definitely listen. each episode has had so much content in there, and they haven't really, like John said, they haven't forgotten everything. They've circled back to all the stuff that they've had. So listen, so far so good, and I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope that I'm right.
So spoiler alerts to John Walker. Like in the comics, I think it was his parents dying that leads him to
Yeah.
snap
So
to
they
go.
get his parents, this
Yep.
group of terrorists or whatever called I think they're called Mad Dogs or something like that, and they kill his parents, and he goes berserk and murders all of them. I remember reading this comic when I was a kid, and I was like, "Yo, Captain America just murdered all these guys." He's like jamming stuff into people's faces and like killing them. And then at the end, it just closes with him holding his dead parents, and I'm just like, "Whoa, what the hell just happened?"
Yeah.
Well, in this episode, in this show, it's going to be Sam versus Walker, and they're going to be battling, and Sam's going to say, "Save Sarah," and then Walker's like, "Why did you say that name?" Because he also has a sister named Sarah, and it's just that's how it's going to end.
Well,
the mom
put that.
Rob, the mom is going to be Martha. Let's save your mom, Martha.
Why did you say that name?
So, and finally, as we jump to the next topic, and the last thing from the internets, which have been very consistent, next week episode, for those who are wondering, is 61 minutes all in. So it is gonna be a long one. So if you think that this is they're gonna pull a WandaVision, no, it's with credits, with everything combined, 61. So if you remove
fantastic.
4
it's
minutes,
still gonna be 49 minutes.
Let's not forget
but they've
WandaVision had some
extended
issues. With
so let's say the
COVID and
credits are
everything
like
that.
6 minutes long, and then the opening salvo is like 2 minutes. Like it's gonna be at least 50 minutes of content this week. Like if you worst case scenario, 11 minutes of like end credits and whatever in like the summary of the last episode, you're gonna get 50 plus minutes of on the next episode, including a special cameo of world-breaking proportions. So there we go. Anyways, that's gonna apparently
They've heard me.
World.
They've heard me. You know, like they've been like, "Yo, this Andre guy's too hard on us. Let's just give him something. Let's just go and
if
get
they
Andre
heard
back on
you,
board." I'm back on the bus with this, man. I can't believe it. I'm back on the bus.
You know what? I can't wait for them. If they've heard you, Andre, the next show they're gonna have after Loki and all that is going to be what happened to New Asgard. And all of a sudden, the Norwegians are all of a sudden going to mysteriously appear saying, "What are you doing in my house, eh?" And it's like, oh boy. And that's what it's going to be. It's a
what's going to happen? Then
New Asgard.
Rob, what's going to happen is those Asgards are going to break out in weird Scandinavian songs and then sing it and smell sweaters. And then it'll be fine. It'll be all great. It'll be like, yeah, whatever.
Dressed like a bat. You're crazy, Bruce Wayne.
Singing a song. Don't worry about it. I feel like they just built those houses themselves, but nonetheless, let's jump to our next topic. Things are happening in the world, such as toys. John posted this a while ago. By this point in time, you heard this, it's not available for you anymore, but I'm going to talk about it nonetheless. Hasbro Pulse, Hasbro, of course, is one of the largest manufacturers of toys in the world. They've now kind of done this new thing. If you don't know about the toy world, you know, with the prevalence of Kickstarters, they've now released their own version of this Kickstarter mechanic where they'll present toys, whether we talked before, which was the Razor Crest, which was like $500 for a big scale toy that's limited edition. And typically they wouldn't make it in mass production because who would want this? This is crazy. So they have introduced an industry first auto-converting, interactive, programmable, voice-activated, mobile-controlled Optimus Prime robot. This collector's edition, which is now sold out, all could be yours for $700 USD. So if you were given this toy, would you, as a gift, not purchase your own? Would you even dare open it, or would you just keep it in a box and put it somewhere on display? John, the question is you. What would you do if you were gifted this toy?
Yeah, so the very nature of this toy is the gimmick of that it transforms itself. So I think almost everyone buying this, and it's going to probably come packaged like an electronic device. So I don't think you're going to have to crack any blister cards or anything like that. So I think everyone is pretty much going to open this up. I've very rarely seen these type of toys go.
I don't care about other people.
Like, I've never touched
will you open it?
I'm tempted not to open it because I don't know if you guys have ever tried to use your voice activated navigation system in your car or Siri on your phone. The crap can't recognize what I'm saying, and that might just be because maybe I mumble or something. So I feel like I'm going to tell Optimus Prime to do stuff, and he's just going to shrug his shoulders.
And would pay for that. I would pay for that. It'd be awesome.
I don't know. I do question the transformation because I don't remember at any point during the animated series if Optimus Prime lies down and waits for his legs to rotate around and then proceeds to stand up after that. But some guys were saying, yeah, maybe if you slow down the frames of animation in the old TV show, maybe he does that. But I don't, yeah, for sure you're gonna open it, and I think hackers are gonna go crazy with this. So not hackers, but programmers. They're gonna be able to have some fun with this. You're gonna see Optimus Prime robot dancing before you know it.
Okay, Rob.
Oh no, I'd sell it.
Yeah, but not sell it. But like,
I wouldn't even open it. I wouldn't give a shit. And I'll tell you why. It's cool to look at. Listen, if people aren't really sure what we're talking about, the video is out there. John's posted it on the Heroes World Facebook page. Go take a look. It's cool to look at. But you know what it reminded me of? When Sphero came out with their BB-8, I was like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" You know, I that looks so cool to play with, and this and that. I would love to have that. You know, use my phone. My buddy got it and for Christmas that first holiday, and he was showing us like, "That's neat." And then my son actually got a Sphero, and he has his attention to Falcon and Winter Soldier lasted longer than it did with the Sphero. And now that BB-8 is on my buddy's shelf, and he hasn't used it in the last 3 years.
Okay, what if it was the robot from Rocky IV, Rob?
Again,
life size.
Yeah, you know what? It's felled by stairs. Once it gets to stairs, it's done. So,
like Ed 209.
That's right. So exactly. So for
Rob,
me,
you need a robot for each floor then.
No, listen, it's a $2,100 investment of Optimus Primes on my floor. I hey, if you've gotten it and you've ordered it and you're excited for it, I'm really happy for you. But for me, I literally couldn't give a rat's ass. It looks cool. It's not. It's not for me. It's $700 for an automatic. I can save myself $675 and buy a $25 Optimus Prime and do it myself, and I can use my own voices to do it. So it's not for me.
Okay, Andre.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool, but just like Rob mentioned, the problem with these toys that are interactive and stuff like that,
please know that Andre has a Wally, electronic Wally, right behind him.
I do, and it has a remote control that it stopped working like literally a month after I got it. And I have the R2D2, the big one. Remember, I brought it to the store, and I go R2 patrol mode, and it would just stay there. The only command I got it to do was I would say R2, do you remember? And I say Anakin Skywalker, and then he would kind of cry or whatever. And I'm like, that's the only one that freaking worked, right? So I'm a sucker I've got the programmable R2D2 with the app and stuff like that, and it's not voice commanded, so he works a little bit. But this one, I can I think what would happen is you would transform it once or twice, and then it'll just slow down in its joints or whatever, and then it won't work. So the packaging, unfortunately, while decent, I don't think the packaging is good enough just to display. I think I would have to put it on display, but I don't think I would be transforming it all the time. For me, I love Optimus Prime. I love Optimus Prime toys, but I love them for the robot mode. The truck mode doesn't appeal to me, so I don't think I would be doing that. Like, maybe I would every now and then again say Optimus Prime shoot at Megatron or something, and just to hear the sound effect and hear Peter Cullen's voice, that would be it. But
what if you said one shall stand, one shall fall, and he went into the full reenactment of the movie? Then he
would fall 100%. Off the table and break, so he couldn't do that.
And you'd be holding the Matrix and then his arm and going, "Oh no, this $700 paperweight."
What you don't know is you have to buy the separate Rodimus Prime who's waiting in the shadows to grab it and be like, and then you need to buy the third. You need the third robot to say they're crying as Ultra Magnus is like, I don't have Matrix power.
But there's is it PCS? PCS has done a really cool Generation 1 statues, right? Of Prime and stuff like that. They have like a smaller version.
I think Pop Culture Shock,
yeah. And then they have a bigger version, I think a quarter scale. And those are Generation 1, just kind of like how this toy is. If you have $700, I
think those are actually more expensive. I think over here
the smaller ones aren't, but the 1/10 scale ones are about, I think it's 150 Canadian. buy one of those. If you like the way it looks, like the Generation 1 Prime, you can get one of those.
This is the gimmick that you
This
show
is a
off
gimmick.
in front
This
of
is a
your friends
novelty and
kids.
stuff, and people are gonna want the first one. If you know, like, there's a lot of collectors. Like I said, it sold out in less than a day. So apparently, there's a lot of people who want it, or they only made 500.
That's it. We don't know how many they made, right? Yeah,
it's
maybe
made
they
by
made
another
70
company in cooperation with Hasbro. So it's not
right.
it's not a direct Hasbro product.
Yeah.
I think the company's called Robo Scene or Robo something.
Yeah. Hasbro's not spending that money in the R&D to add the 5,000 mechanical pieces that go into. I watched it. I'm like 5,000 pieces. I'm like,
Yeah. It's like when you're buying a new car, it's like that's that many more things that can go wrong with it.
Yeah.
Like one of the, I think it's like 26 or 30 servos.
Yeah.
And like one of those servos pops, and
It's
your
done.
Optimus is like,
Yeah. It's like a refrigerator with an LCD screen on the outside.
you have
just-
a truck with one
what do you
arm
need that
sticking
for?
out.
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Needless to say, this panel is all on board with the coolness of the toy, but none of them are keeping it. So there we go. Question 2. We're jumping over to talking about something that's near and dear to some of our hearts, as it premiered on the year of someone's birth, premiering in 1982. Super Dimension Fortress Macross was the start of a massive anime franchise that continues to this day with numerous types of sequels and films. But the Macross series came out in parts in North America, as we know, as Robotech, and basically has an amalgamation of weird cuts and different rights issues. So really, it's never really got the full unveiling of what the series potential is because of rights and legal issues. So as of a few days ago, there was been a big expansive agreement between Big West Studios, Nun, and Harmony Gold, which will allow the immediate international distribution of most of the Macross TV shows and films, which is awesome because a lot of us have been downloading, watching the dubs, watching it on various different means. This is the first time we'll maybe get legitimate versions here with, and sacrilege I say that, with English dubs, but there we go. Or you watch the fan subs. So this is something that's coming out. And I know that a lot of people that love Macross and Robotech because it's been around for so long and because it was played on Saturday mornings when some of us were kids, just like Rocket Robin Hood, things that happened for those at home. So give us a scale of 1 to 10. How excited because of this news, John? How are you excited about this? And does this mean
So I can't speak to the original Robotech because I don't know if I just missed it my generation, or maybe I just couldn't get it where I was growing up. So I never grew up with the other one, but I watched a series called Macross Plus, which was kind of like the successor of it, which was like set 3 decades later or something like that. And that has been very difficult to pursue. Like they did produce it had OVAs, it had a movie, and that kind of stuff dried up. And it's not available on any streaming service as far as I can tell. No Crunchyroll, no Funimation. So no one is able to kind of enjoy this. Like I would actually probably recommend this series to someone like Rob, because it's almost like Top Gun meets like Macross in the storytelling and stuff like that. So I'm pretty excited that that's going to happen, and maybe I'll be able to. I think I have the DVDs for the OVAs somewhere, but there became a point where it was only available the movie version, which is an edited down version, and to be able to have that on streaming now. And I believe they released a video game and various toys. I've never had any toys associated with it because the release was pretty much Japan only, and we only sparsely got things over here in overseas, I guess. So yeah, or you would have to pay big money to import them. So if we get those kind of questions at the shop all the time. I grew up with Robotech. What can you get with Robotech? I'm like, nothing. We can't get it over here. There's no rights. You can import it yourself, or if you have someone flying overseas, get them to throw it in their luggage. So I think it's pretty exciting, and we've seen all these 80s properties resurge. Transformers. Is it technically considered an 80s property? Over here it came out like 90 something, right?
Still 80s. Still
80s.
Yeah. Still 80s.
Yeah. So
the toys.
So like for people to actually have that now, like, so if it's like He-Man or whatever disappeared back then because of rights, then that would suck for me that grew up with that. So I would put myself at like an 8 just based on the idea alone that I'm going to be able to get some Macross Plus stuff.
Yeah, and hopefully the dubs here will, as Rob has no idea what we're talking about based on his expressions, but hopefully they can get some good actors to dub the voice. I would typically say I would pick one actor in particular to be it, but I don't think he's available anymore. So maybe we can. Who else, Rob, in your wheelhouse of actors would you like to be a voice in this show? Because our main man is unavailable right now.
I don't know what you're talking about. I literally couldn't give two shits. This is not my jam. John,
anime guy.
I appreciate you being friendly enough to recommend it to me. I won't watch it. As a kid, I saw Robotech on TV. It was all over the place. There was never, it was kind of like watching Doctor Who as a kid. Sometimes on TVO, sometimes on PBS. You had no idea. I didn't understand it. I would watch it and I would be like, these are like lazy Transformers. I don't understand. Like, you have it folded down into the airship, like the F-18, but the legs are still sticking out. So if you guys are looking for a toy, to just buy Starscream or Thundercracker and just keep the legs down. That's Robotech. I don't know why. I've never listen, if you like it out there and this is your thing, I'm really happy for you that this is coming back. I think that's great. I hope you're excited for it. But for me, I literally couldn't give two shits. It's not my thing. I don't appreciate it. I don't like it. And I don't know what voice guy you're talking about. I don't know if it's Chuck Jones you're talking. I don't know if it's Peter Cullen. I don't put Wyatt Russell in. He could do a great job.
Great. That's your new guy. That's your new guy, because there's a guy that we put in every TV show and movie, Rob.
Yeah, we don't talk about him anymore.
And we're not.
Yeah, he's currently busy dealing with barbecue type issues
until allegations are cleared.
Watch back some old clips where Rob would just throw his name into every option. We don't do that anymore. Now on, it's Wyatt Russell. Who's available?
Yeah.
Wyatt Russell.
Wyatt Russell.
Wyatt Russell. So Wyatt Russell, if you need a new turtle from Entourage, Rob is available. He's decoupled from the previous actor that he was on board with, and here we go. Andre, your thoughts? How excited are? Oh, Rob is a 0, right? I assume, or a -0.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I'm in like Antarctic freezing -43. Sorry,
Andre.
Well, as you can see,
a bunch of Valkyries in his background.
I'm a little excited here. I've
I
got
had no clue what that was.
I think he thought it was Mass Effect.
I was like, why does he have to go?
Yeah.
Is it a board game? What's he doing back there?
You remember the Jetfire character from Transformers, right, Rob? The Jetfire Transformers.
Yeah.
That figure, that toy was lifted basically from RoboCop. So if you thought that was a cool toy, at least I think you can at least appreciate that was a really cool toy when you were a kid.
Yep.
It was the metal F-14 or whatever.
Yep.
That was lifted from Robotech. Yeah. So go on, Andre.
Great.
Yeah, so I've got back here a book, an art book that I had to import. All of my Robotech stuff, Macross stuff, you had to import. Very, very expensive. And then this is one of my prized possessions. It's from the third Robotech, which is an alpha and beta fighter that actually transform. And these we actually got in the store. Tanami did them maybe about a decade ago or something. But listen, this is huge news. This has been something that's been tied up in limbo for forever and a day. And it is first and foremost a way for people in North America to hopefully get all of the sequels and continuation of the Macross mythos, because you could never get it over here because Harmony Gold blocked it. So just to give a really short synopsis of what happened is Harmony Gold back in was it 86 or something, they bought the rights for the Macross TV series to air it over here. And they bought, I think it was 26 or some odd episodes. And they took it around, they shopped it around. And I think at the time, a couple of stations were interested. And they're like, yeah, give us 100 episodes, we'll take it. Right. And these guys panicked. They're like, what? All we've got is this. So they went out and they bought two other totally different anime series, different creators, different themes, everything. And then they brought in their team of writers, and they had some animators, and they managed to tie these three series together in a very great story for what they were working with. Now, they were able to put that show on. It was one of the first serialized cartoons. I think it aired on Fox. So I don't know where you grew up, Rob, but WUTV, 11 o'clock Saturday mornings, they aired every episode of Robotech. How do I know this? Because you could not get me out of a TV at that time. My parents were going somewhere. I stayed home. I had every episode recorded, paused out the commercials. Like, that's how we had to do that stuff. and you could not find toys or anything. Like they just had brought this over. Then eventually toys did come out, and it was, or I think only for I can't remember who made them, but they weren't that great, and they were very, very hard to find. They did model kits, but the model kits used like GoBot figures as Robotech. Like it was, anyways, it was a mess and stuff. But the story was cool. It was serialized. It was awesome. Now overseas, Macross is its own big, huge thing. Yet they now can't distribute anything that has any of the names that were used in Robotech. So there's literally this iron curtain, this wall. We can't get anything, like John mentioned. There was a couple things came out on DVD and Blu-ray. Not Blu-ray, just DVD and VHS maybe, but that was it. There was a lockdown. You couldn't get that. And they're basically Harmony Gold, in my opinion, for this long time. They were just these gatekeepers, and they're broke. They had no money after a certain time. They tried to kickstart a movie years and years ago. It did come out to continue Robotech, but too little too late. They couldn't do it. So now hopefully that this deal brings us all the Macross stuff that we haven't seen. I'm super excited to get Macross Zero, Macross Plus, so much of this stuff, because when I went to try and buy that and import it, it was like $200 a disc. And I'm like, listen, I want to own an original, but not that bad, and stuff. So a lot of people were like me, had to get it by other means, watch it by other means. So now hopefully we get all these beautiful art books, and hopefully the model kits, and toys, import toys, if they're still being made, or hopefully they'll make a whole bunch more to give the market what it demands. Now, this might be too little too late, because a lot of guys who love Robotech are probably in their 40s, almost 50. You know what I mean?
No,
So
that's the group that has the money, Andre. Don't you worry.
It does, but how do they get a new?
It's crazy how long it's been like this.
How do you
it's
get
no different than
do
the
they not want to make money?
Same thing. The people that bought the Optimus Prime are not 21-year-old guys. It's
I
the
think you're
older
wrong.
folks with $700 to burn.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that that when they re-released the Millennium Falcon, it's like the Lego set. It's like it's not 8-year-olds who are buying the $1,000 Millennium Falcon set. It's the older people.
But it's because Star Wars has stayed in the collective consciousness. Like Robotech is what do you call it? Cult following. You know what I mean? Like everybody's heard of it, but like you ask those people now, would they drop this kind of money on the toys? Maybe, I guess but if you could have, maybe you've already imported what you want. Anyways, I'm super excited. Out of 10, I'm like a hot 12 out of 10 excited for this. But I am cautiously, I don't want to cautious. I'm hesitant to say, are they going to be able to get a new audience hooked on Robotech? I don't think the classics are going to do it. I think it's almost just like watching old episodes of Transformers or Thundercats and stuff like that. Now, while this has a story, I just think the animation and stuff, it's not going to be up to snuff. Like I think I'd have a hard time getting my nephews to watch it. But some of the newer stuff, like Macross Plus or Macross Zero, that's a little bit newer, I think the animation is good.
I don't know, man. The old Gundam, the original Gundam, I've rewatched it. It's still awesome. Like the OG Gundam, the original.
But OG Gundam was OG Gundam. Like Robotech, as we know it, that's cut, pasted, like shitty cells put over. Like they did not have the money to make what is. That's why if you watch I would, if you want to watch good Macross, you rewatch Do You Remember Love? That's the Macross movie. Like there's, I wish Rob would give it a chance, because it is actually fantastic, and it's different to know something now, and you could follow like a
Don't worry, we're gonna force him to watch an episode when it comes out. It's gonna happen.
But don't forget, like Andre makes a very good point, and Stu, you do as well. And I'm not leaving you out, John. You just didn't. It's that no, but it's that we grew up with it. We went, we're a generation of video store kids. You would go to the video store, you would go to flea markets and there would be bootleg VHS tapes of these, and they were being passed around. They were available because people were bootlegging them, and they were on the video store shelves, and the mom and pop video stores, not like the jumbo videos and whatnot and Blockbusters, right? So we grew up with that. Our kids, we've discussed this numerous times. Kids of this generation don't have an appreciation or an understanding for that stuff. So unless it's readily, and so Andre is right, like it's going to be very difficult to get the modern age kid to want to invest in the time, and I don't know how best to do that. Just throwing it on a streaming service is not always the answer. There's got to be something else. So
you got to put it on streaming service first and make it accessible. So it's got to be on a Netflix, and that will be first. At least make it easier.
I think you know what? I think some of the original series of Robotech was on Netflix. I think for a little while. But again, they would have to do something new, or maybe they would dub over, like I said, one of the sequels, the many sequels from Japan that wasn't here. But there was something really special about that series. Like that was the first anime series that I knew it was anime and I could follow the whole thing. Now, like I grew up.
Andre, we're gonna talk about Robotech again. Like we need to, we got it 12. Let's table this.
12. I'm excited.
We're tabling this because there will be a full episode once we have more information and the first episode comes out, and we force Rob to watch it. So this will be a fun thing. We're gonna do a whole episode on Robotech, and Rob's gonna watch episode 1, and we're all gonna talk about it as a refresh because, again, to your point, we don't know what they're gonna do. So let's see what happens. Or we do an introductory class as to. And we'll do an introductory because I was going to ask you about the storyline, but frankly, it's a mess anyway. So let's wait till the accessibility that we can all watch one episode together, and we'll talk about it. So Andre, because I'm sure your passion is very clear, but we could go on and on and on. And
yes,
let's wait and see where it goes. Okay, so I have spoken, Andre. It's your segment. I give it to you, the floor. Please tell us what we should be picking up at this time.
All right, so to tie in with this wonderful news that Robotech is clear and Macross is clear to come to North America, I want to recommend a book done by some very good friends of our store and amazing comic guys and art book guys. Our friends from Udon Studios did an Art of Robotech hardcover book, and it is fantastic. So they are able to curate some of the best concept designs, actually get commentary and artist notes on it, and put it in a wonderful package. This book came out a couple of years ago. We still have several copies at the shop. If you're a Robotech fan, you need this. If you're curious about Robotech, you should check this out. The designs for Robotech were absolutely groundbreaking, fantastic, and they are still super influential to modern mecha stuff today. Anybody who's a mecha fan that's designing stuff has definitely looked back, and this is a great affordable book to give you artwork from Robotech, the first part, which is the Macross saga. So definitely check that book out. We've got copies of the store, and also, like I said, Udon, wonderful folks. They make a ton of art books. They publish the Street Fighter comics and art books, so there's lots to see from them. But because in order to kind of celebrate, I'm talking their Robotech book. So check it out. Art of Robotech by Udon Studios.
Shout out to Eric, a big supporter of the store, a big supporter of you guys. If you want to hear him and our boy Bruce on an old podcast, we do discuss Avengers, some hot takes from both Bruce and Eric. One of the funnest episodes that's happened in a long time, when the two of them just go off and I just sit back and going, okay. So
find that from the archives. I don't know if I don't think I have a copy of it, so we should definitely get that posted.
We should find it. Yeah,
dig around and have a copy.
We should bring back Eric and Bruce at one point in time to get their thoughts on, now that the whole thing's complete. So there'll be that in the future. So as we wrap up, there is one last question I have for the sidekicks, both Rob and John. As you know, there's a secondary television program / podcast that happens with the sidekicks that happens every Monday. So I wanted to ask you two a quick question, because Andre and myself are not in the zone when it comes to this. So here we go. Superman and Lois update. We are currently at episode 5. Both of you are avidly watching it. Are you in? Are you out? Has it jumped the shark yet? Like, where are we at this show, John?
Yeah, I don't know. Rob, did you manage to watch the 5th episode? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I was quite enjoying it at first, but the drop that they've made right at the end of their 5th episode has got me kind of questioning where it's going. So I don't know if we want to go full spoiler or not.
Do whatever
When
you
did
want.
it air?
Full spoilers.
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
for it.
So the show's been pretty good. You get to see an expanded relationship into Clark and Lois. You get to see Clark try to be the different father, and they have expanded on the kids a lot, which I am really enjoying. They've done the twist where the sons are on the football team, and instead of taking the typical Smallville every other route they've taken, they actually like have embraced this idea. It's like, oh, you know what? You had football when you were growing up, Dad. You're gonna have football. So I thought that stuff was really good. The two boys stick together, and I feel like they are coming into their own as actors. But in the last couple episodes, Rob, I don't know if you want to agree with me or not, they have introduced a concept that was one of Smallville's, I don't know if you want to call it kryptonite or Achilles heel, which was
Freak of the week, I think it was called.
Yeah, which was the monster of the week, aka the Meteor Freaks. So Rob, I don't know if you remember, one of the characters got a shaky arm from being exposed to what was revealed at the end of episode 5 to some type of orange kryptonite or something like that. I don't remember. It was like an off-color type of gemstone or something. So this has me very concerned if they are going forward and the people of Smallville are going to be exposed to this meteor freak mentality that is coming up or happened in Smallville many times. So I don't know if Rob, you feel the same, or if you look at it as, you know, a brief moment in their storytelling.
Yeah, so I'm on board for this show. I'm really enjoying it. It has taken a break. It hasn't been on for the last 2 weeks, and it's not back until May 18th. They shut down back in November because of a COVID outbreak on the set. And then they didn't resume filming until January. So shoehorned in this time is the final season of Supergirl. So just for those who might be looking for it, it's on the CTV Space or Sci-Fi app or whatever.
For those who are Canadian.
Yes, for those who can. Otherwise, you can watch on the CW. Listen, I'm all for the show. It is not your typical CW show, but John's right. This, this orange gemstone that seems to be within the caves of Smallville is what is attracting Morgan Edge, and it looks like it's giving people powers. However, I'm trying to remember what property it was. Much like them taking a super soldier serum, it's not agreeing well with the individuals who are consuming it. So, and there's something else kind of weird. It's almost like as if it has the DNA properties of Kryptonians, because it's almost like hosts, with a symbiote type thing, because in one of the near the final episode, when Superman's battling one of these super powered individuals, he's like,
Shadow, I didn't mention Superman's use of his powers, which I don't know if Rob, you want to talk about it
go ahead.
little bit, but just you get to see him use other powers. So instead of Superman just running around punching stuff and using his typical heat vision, we are seeing other elements like freeze breath. He basically Sub-Zero uppercuts a guy, which is hilarious. I thought he was going to shatter, but he actually just gets knocked out. But so you get to see Superman kind of use different powers and abilities, which is really neat. I don't think we've really seen that in a TV show. I guess the technology is finally here.
But it was the focal point of that episode in Smallville, where it's like, we're going to do ice breath and then we'll never use it again. It's like, you have this power.
So he's getting to use different powers, which I think is really cool.
Wait, is Superman only like saving people in Smallville now?
No, but it's very interesting you bring that up, is because his absence from being in Metropolis as often as he was has reverberated effects on what's happening with General Lane in the U.S. government, who are now kind of viewing Superman as a bit of a threat, because he's trying to focus on his family at the same time as being Superman, and so it's an overcompensation at times on each balance. So it does delve into a lot of real world, plate spinning that everybody does. It just in a bit of a different purpose. And we still have this Lex Luthor, who is from another Earth, and who has probably been caught up in the multiverse collapse during the crisis. issue from a couple years ago that the CW did. So overall, listen, and it's a fun show for me. I'm quite enjoying it. I do have some of the same concerns that John has about the freak of the week. If I was the guy that all of a sudden had the vibrating hand, I wouldn't be going to parties. I'd be staying at home for other reasons. So I'm I'm all in, and I can't wait for May 18th for the next episode to drop.
All right, thank you. And if you guys want to see more of that chippy dialogue between two of these posts on the bottom of the panel, that can be heard every Monday. So as we wrap up, John, Andre, where can they find you guys on the internet and in the real world?
Yeah, so Heroes World Online is pretty much the key phrase you're going to be looking for. So on all our social media, the Instagram, the Facebook, and even the YouTube, you're going to find us Heroes World Online, and a lot of that will link you back to the website, which is also Heroes World Online. We are adding new things to the website as fast as we can, so you can kind of take a look on there, and you can always contact us via message, any of those methods, and we'll get back to you and kind of help you along your way. And if you are watching on the YouTube, please give us a subscribe. We're on a road to 1,000 subs. We're getting pretty close. We're at like 920 something last time I checked. So really appreciate it, folks. And thank you everyone who always kind of shares and tunes in and watches our stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Andre?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we are back to curbside pickup. All our work John and I put into getting the store ready and spaced and social distance and looking great, and a lot of new product coming in. You can't come in right now. So hopefully you'll be able to come in soon. But please reach out to us on our social medias or our email, or hey, even if you're watching this any of our podcasts and stuff, and you comment, hey, you guys talked about something, do you have it? Reach out. We'll get that message and we'll try and sort you out. We're able to now ship worldwide. So if you're not in our neck of the woods and you want to support us, it would be much appreciated. But if you are in our neck of the woods, curbside pickup, 8601 Warden Avenue. That's Warden and Highway 7. And our curbside pickup hours are pretty much, we're going to try this time around to stay open 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock Tuesday to I guess Saturday roughly, because we still got shipments coming into the store and we got to be there to receive them. So if you need anything, don't hesitate to give us a phone call, message us on our Facebook group, on Instagram, because we're putting a lot of pictures of stuff up. And if you can support us, please do. Listen, this one's tough. This is we thought we were through this, and this is gonna hurt, so hopefully you guys are staying safe. Hopefully you guys are staying strong. We need you to help us stay strong. So thank you for all the support, and we look forward to serving you.
So as John and Andre mentioned, support in any means, whether it's through the sales at heroesworld@gmail.com, or
sales.heroesworld@gmail.com. You can call the shop during the hours that Andre mentioned, 905-948-1949. And then message through the social media, or if you go to the website, you can also set your cart to curbside pickup instead of having it shipped.
Yeah. So, and again, if you can't, we appreciate the support on liking, subscribing, all those fun things on social media. If this is not something that you're capable of doing at this time, money is tight for everyone, but even the digital support is most welcome. So comment, let us know that your thoughts and your ideas. Join the community, join the people that are chatting. We're here for you. So do what you can, and we all appreciate it. So thank you. Rob, where can they find you?
Well, when I'm not outside in the backyard soaking up all the sun and getting this glorious tan happening, you can find John and I Mondays.
Pouring rain today, Rob. Pouring rain today.
But it was nice and sunny yesterday. You can find John and I Mondays, 8 o'clock Eastern on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. As Stu had mentioned earlier, it's a Sidekick show. So this week, Monday, tomorrow, we are doing a rewatch of the 2012 Carl Urban movie Dread. So So it's currently on Netflix in Canada. So if you have an opportunity tonight or tomorrow to watch it, please do so and then join us as we go through it. One of my favorite modern movies in the last decade or so. So it's a lot of fun. Definitely give us a watch. If you're looking for me online, I had to switch off my personal Instagram account because I had fans of Andre disagreeing with me and sending me weird messages, and I suspect my
That was all me.
my take on Robotech will probably spurn some more of that. So you can get me on Instagram at _905, all spelled out. And yeah, otherwise we'll see you guys and girls tomorrow night at 8:00 on YouTube.
Yeah. Bonus points if you want to watch the Stallone version.
I am the law.
I'm the law.
There we go. So thank you all for joining us. I had to immediately yell, "I am the law," and then of course the Armand Asante, the law afterwards. So those who don't know, they were twin brothers apparently,
Genetically modified twin brothers. Although Carl Urban does say "I am the law" in that movie, is in this, but
yes,
much better.
But there is no one to yell the law afterwards, which is the pinnacle part of that movie, where he yells back, "The law, what is it?" And it goes in soliloquy. So There we go. He, as Andre mentioned before, they get their Michael Caine moment in spades in that movie. Everyone in Winter Soldier gets, or in the Falcon and Winter Soldier gets their Michael Caine moment, and you definitely believe even Rob Schneider gets his Michael Caine moment in that movie of Judge Dredd. So anyways, nonetheless, have a great one. Be safe. We look forward to seeing you guys again the following week. Join the discussion in the group on Monday on the Sidekick Show. But thank you as always. See you later.
Yes. Thank you again, Stu.
Take care.